In another bout of violence, Israeli security forces have killed 7 Palestinians, including 2 Hamas commanders in the Gaza Strip. According to a Hamas official, the violence erupted when a group of its armed men were fired at from a passing car belonging to Israeli security forces, and Hamas members gave chase. Reports suggest Israel conducted the ground raid where special forces using civilian vehicle went 3 kilometers deep into Gaza that led to flare-up. Israeli forces have also confirmed that one of their special forces commanders has been killed and another soldier moderately wounded during the clashes. Witnesses said that during the chase, Israeli aircraft fired over 40 missiles in the area, killing 4 other people. The Israeli military said in a brief statement that Israel forces were involved in an operational activity in the Gaza Strip, which led to exchange of fire shortly after the violence erupted. Sirens warning of rocket fire from the Gaza Strip sounded in southern Israel. Though there were no immediate reports of any damage or injuries. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has cut short his trip to Paris and was returning to Israel. And to bring us more details on this news story, I'm joined in by West Asia Bureau Chief Daniele Pagani, who joins me from Jordan. Daniele, a very good afternoon. Why has Israel jeopardized the current ceasefire with a cross-border raid?
Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to all our viewers. Well, this is a very complicated question to ask, also because this happens at a time when the Egyptian efforts in order to bring on the negotiation table and to bring and maybe a successful end to a possible long-term ceasefire between Hamas and Israel was at its peak. Also, Qatar pitched in recently, said it was ready to alleviate the economic troubles of Gaza, paying the salaries of those employees who were working within the Hamas administration, not the military wing, the Hamas administration, and also giving fuel. So this decision from the government of Israel comes as a surprise. Also, Prime Minister Netanyahu did have to cut short his visit, which means that the situation is a very complicated situation. The Israeli Defense Forces communicated that one of their soldiers, a lieutenant, has been killed during the operation, another has been lightly injured. It remains to be seen if this was a planned operation or this was conducted in retaliation for a possible future action by the Al-Qassam Brigade, the military wing of Hamas. But the Israeli defense spokesperson never comment on this kind of operations and never release any detail on this kind of operations.
Right. Daniele, also, do we expect Hamas to retaliate now? Also, is Israel returning to an old abandoned policy of targeting individual Hamas commanders? Could this further raise tensions at the border?
Certainly, this action undertaken by the Israeli Defense Forces will not help the peace process, will not help the negotiations. Hamas is bound to respond somehow. They have already done so during the night with some projectiles and small rockets fired on against Israeli territories. The Iron Dome intercepted 3 of the 17 projectiles. They are defined projectiles, so we don't really understand what it means, if they were rockets or RPG ammunitions. It's not very clear, but they already started to retaliate. Spokesperson from Hamas said that they will retaliate. If Hamas does not retaliate for this kind of killing, it means that somehow the head of the person who was killed tonight by the Israeli forces was kind of a bargaining chip for the negotiations. Otherwise, Hamas is bound to retaliate in order to defend its position and to defend its authority in Gaza.
Right. Lastly, Daniele, since the Great March of Return demonstrations took place in March earlier this year, Gaza continues to be plagued by violence. Is this a tipping point of sorts where another war almost seems imminent?
Well, if there is a moment where actually a war or whatever looks like a war could start, we are there. We will need to see and to monitor the situation in the coming hours to understand what Hamas intends to do. This is a cross-border operation. It means that a commando from the Israeli forces crossed the border, entered the Gaza Strip, entered Khan Yunis, which is a place, a village of, I would say a small town, more than a village, 140,000 people live there. It's a stronghold of Hamas. They entered this village, they killed the commander of the military wing of Hamas. They tried to escape. but an exchange of fire broke out and the Israeli Defense Forces started striking the area in order to cover their men and to allow them to go back to Israel. So this is not a small operation. Again, I repeat, it's a cross-border operation. So this raises the bar of tensions extremely high. And the fact, again, that the Prime Minister of Israel decided to cut short his visit to Paris and to immediately fly back and to have a meeting with the Defense Minister says that the situation is very, very serious.
Tense.
Also, residents close to the southern border with the Gaza Strip reported that there is tank movement there. We don't know if that's only a preventive move, but all these kind of hints give us the idea of a possibility of a larger conflict happening. We will need to see in the coming hours.
Right.